Okay, guys, well, I have found a few more connections, and I thought that I would do a mystery teachings research notes just so I've got some more of this information out there. And as I said, later on, I can come back and then do these videos properly. And so, for anybody else that's just actually finding this video, I would suggest you go back and watch the previous videos as well as the mystery teachings and have an understanding for sacred geometry and hermetics at least. Or you're really not going to understand very much of this information. Or you're not going to really grasp it to the extent that you really want to. So basically what we've worked out so far is that we have 12 tribes of Israel. Now within those 12 tribes is 4 thrones, or what we call 4 clans, or I suppose kingdoms. Now I would rather 4 thrones because our throne is our divinity. And so we're looking at the divinity of the human race within the thrones of the 12 tribes of Israel. And Israel is God's land where God lives. So it's a part of God playing out on the physical plane. That is what encompasses the word Israel. So we have 4 races of black, white, red, and yellow, and 8 messiahs within those races. And this is the physical extension of God that is never changing. And this is also seen in the number 5 and the hand of God upon creation, because we see God as the thumb and the other fingers as the whole messiahs. Think of the messiahs when they're counted as 4 as being the yin yang, back together, whole. So they can be seen as 4 and 8. And 5 and 8 have a special relationship. So I would suggest you go and do some research into that. But so do 4 and 8. And we also see that in the square, where we see that we've got 4 sides, but we've also got 4 points. So we see that 4 can transform into 8. And so this is relayed in the Pyramid of Giza, where we've seen they've made the sides 4, but they've also given them intersections to show us 8. And the 12 tribes that we're focusing on now are the tribes of Israel from the white race, because unfortunately, due to lower consciousness, we've lost a lot of the information from the other races. Now we do have a lot of information from the red and yellow races. The red race I would take would be the Northern American Indians and the Southern American, the Maya, the Aztecs, the Hopi, and then we have the Hindu and the Chinese and the Japanese. But unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a lot of the black information from the black race and the black tribes. And this is probably because that was very, very important information, and really the only information that we have left are the Dugon. And that has been manipulated a little bit to try and interpret as an interaction with an off-worldly entity. But I think that they too have suffered from lower consciousness. And if you actually look at their mythology and you actually look at it in line with what we're finding here, you'll see that they're talking about the same thing. They're talking about Sirius, which is God's wife in the macro, God and Orion. And then we have the sun and the moon, which is in the micro, more closer to us, who we are their creation. Gaia is their creation, and man on Gaia, because we are part of Gaia. And this is what this information shows as well. And so I've called them the thrones because I think that that is representative of the divinity, rather than attributing it to what we now think of as kingdoms, because they've dominated the land and they've called it their own, and they've made someone's kingdom of what money can buy. And this is where we see this confusion with pentacles, or the pentagram here on pentacles, and money in the modern interpretation of the tarot. And this is what I also want to explain to people, is that we have to look at the interpretation of this information in the way it's been given. So this is not Western astrology interpretation. This is the Masero. This is more ancient. And this is relating to the tribes. So we have to expand our knowledge of what we all already understand with Western astrology, because that is just one aspect of it. But we can't get trapped into that only aspect and not leave ourselves open to anything else. And so there are other aspects within this symbolism that isn't only related to Western astrology, it's also related to the Maseroth. And so we'll see how this is also playing out within all the symbolism and how it can all be understood and brought back together. And so we can relate the four thrones, Dan, Ruben, Ephraim, and Judah, to the four suits of the tarot, but also the four suits of the modern playing card. And I'll bring you some more information later, because I do have more information on the tribes and thrones of Dan and Ruben, because this is the information that seems to be coming up all the time. So obviously, once again, this information is being relayed to us in layers, and we're finding it in layers. This is how the pendant, the codes in the pendant, is allowing us to access this information in these layers. And we're seeing more and more information come through these symbols. And so we've got the tribe of Dan, who also signifies and symbolizes the individual tribe as a whole and the twin souls. So there's a tribe of Dan as a twin souls, tribe of Reuben as a twin souls, tribe of Ephraim and Judah. But also we have Dan with Asher, Naphtali, Reuben with Gad, Simeon, Ephraim with Manasseh and Benjamin, and Judah with Issachar and Zebulun. And so they're also grouped together, and they also have these influences shared together. And so Dan is representative of the eagle and north, and air, Kether, swords and spades. Now the reason that I've gone north, south, east, west in this sequence is because I was thinking of the blessing when you do the holy blessing, and you go north, south, east, west, and you go north, and then you go down to your heart, which is like in the south direction, and you go east and then west. And so I've put that in that direction, in that sequence. And so we have air, and swords is representing air and the mental and intellect and wisdom of the divine, where we see the crown. And also Kether, where we see the crown, a connection to Kether. And spades is representing, card when we're looking at the other card deck. And think about the other card deck as well, guys. What has it got? It's 52 cards. And we know that there are, 52 divine ones if we times 13 by 4 races. But if we add 2 more, we get 54. But what are those 2 more cards that we don't really add or we can add? Well, they're 2 jokers. And think about what the joker looks like. It very much looks like the Fool card in the tarot, which represents Orion and the presence of God. So once again, we're seeing this connection with even the modern tarot deck or the other tarot deck, which is what I just call the modern tarot deck. But of course, it's as ancient as the tarot. But it's just the playing cards that we've actually incorporated as we've moved into lower conscious and forgotten this real information. And so then we have the Maseroth of, the zodiac, the Maseroth zodiac, which is different than the Western zodiac, of Scorpio. We've got the Maseroth symbol as a serpent or the apple for Dan. And we see that Scorpio is also related to Orion. And we see that the serpent and apple is also related to some mythology from Ireland about some divine race that also has the name Dan within it. And there is symbolism of the apple. So I'll bring you that in another video. That's the other one I was showing you. But I just wanted you to know that this is different symbolism to what we've been taught in Western astrology. Okay, so you have to leave that at the door and be open to the Maseroth astrology. It's very different. And it's also a facet. I'm not saying to dismiss the Western astrology altogether. I'm just saying that it's just a part of it, and we need to kind of put that aside for now and understand that this is another facet of information within the astrology that the ancients knew about. And so then we have Ruben, which is man, and Ruben is of the south and of the earth. Malkuth, which is the root of the earth, also a reflection of Kether. And so north-south, think of the blessing as well. And wands is the corresponding suit in tarot, and clubs is the corresponding suit in the other deck. Now, people often think that wands is fire. However, there's been a misinterpretation because wands is actually earth. And wands is, showing here even there is actually a connection to Mother Earth and the sprouting of energy. And this is where I think this misinterpretation has come, and people have thought fire, but it's actually earth that is responsible for the instinctive drive within man, that is just this carnal nature below in the subconscious. And this is also an aspect of the creator, because the creator plays out all aspects of, himself on the physical plane. Okay, so this is the aspect of the creator in wisdom and information and intellect. This is the aspect of the creator in his instinctive, carnal nature playing out that. This is emotional, okay, Ephraim with the water and the cups. And then we've got the will and the drive and the intent and desire. And this is the fire. And so the Masero for Ruben is Aquarius, the Masero zodiac. And we can also see this is related to man in the Western zodiac, because we see Aquarius as the man with the water, with the ether. And we also see the ether represented in earth here. But we have to see that different aspect within this symbolism. And then we also see that the Masero symbol is the man and a sunburst above the water. So we're also seeing both the water of Aquarius and the ether represented, as well as matter, which is representing the sun and earth, and that coming together of sun and earth, of matter and the foundation through the divine, where it all is brought down onto the physical plane, in the physical. And then we have Ephraim, which is symbolized by the east and water and emotion and feeling. And this is also representing water and the ether bringing in God consciousness and emotion. And this is ruled by Leo. So we're also seeing heart and emotion again. So we're seeing this other facet to this information. And the Masero is symbolized with Ephraim through the bull, the ox, or the grapes. And so we even see this in other symbolism, the bull. And then we have Judah, which is the lion of the west. And we see the sunset in the west and the fire. And this is Binar, pentacles, and diamonds. And again, there's been a misinterpretation that this is earth, but in fact this is the desire and will of God on the physical plane, because this is God's intent, divinity, and I should say destiny is tied to our divinity of when we're birthed onto the physical plane. And this is basically representing that. And, we even see with diamonds being the corresponding suit, that diamonds take heat and pressure. So this is where we're seeing this drive, this energy of will onto the physical plane, because we're also seeing that this is, the sword is God's law, is the Creator's word and law and wisdom. And this is here showing the intent and the drive and the will behind that. And then this is bringing it down onto foundation and experiencing it in the physical. and then this is experiencing it emotionally. So you can see that it's all a part of how the creator experiences himself, or I should say, both the creator, because it's always in the macrocosm of the female and the male. And as I said, we've got Sirius and Orion. And so this is basically related back to the macrocosm of God, played out in that gender as well. But, also now we're seeing it on the physical plane. And so the other reason that we know that this is the correct way to look at this symbolism in regards to the wands being of earth and the pentacles being of fire is if we actually look at this picture here, which is an alchemy drawing, we can actually see that these women are representing the 4 tribes. And we've got the lion, we've got the eagle, we've got the bull, and we've got the man. And we can quite clearly see that these symbols here are all relating to the same ones: fire, air, water, and earth. And they're all relating to the same symbolism that I've just shown you here. This is in this alchemy drawing that is confirming this. So I'll put this diagram, this expanded upon diagram, in the group. Now I just want to show you why there may be also somewhat of a confusion, because we do see that these elements interact together. And I think we can see this in this illustration by Augustus Knapp, and this was commissioned by Manly P. Hall. And we can actually see it here, where we've got the eagle and man beside God, and we've got the female intellect being shown as well. And I find it interesting, we even see the symbolism of the hair and the female intellect from the divine, from God. But then we actually see what looks like to be frozen water and a fire. Now, if we look at the eagle as being the mental and the bull as being the emotional, as it's showing us in the tarot, then have a look at the transition from water and ice, or rather I should say ice to water. So when we have ice and we have vapor, or ice which is in its different form, as it melts and transforms, it turns to water, emotion. So we've got what we're being shown here, intellect actually being shown, transforming into emotion, which is being shown in from the bull as the water. Now then we go on the other side, we've got the fire, but we've got man who's representing earth, but then we've got the lion, which is representing fire. And so now we've got the man that's bringing this, creative force, this creative spark onto the physical plane through creation, and plays out as fire on the physical plane, with, creation, with Judah, and pentacles. And so I think this is where we get this, maybe this confusion, where we see this transitional force of man bringing the spark of fire down onto earth and then transitioning it through the heart, living it through the heart, illuminating it through the heart through fire and will, which is what you need to have any intellect and power behind your intellect and your wisdom. You actually need passion and drive. And, it's the same with emotion, because emotion and passion and drive are different. It's a lot different. It's a different force, driving force, what they're showing here. And so we see that here played out in this diagram. And I just basically wanted to bring you that information and just explain that diagram and show you that, this is also known in the Kabbalah, where they've got air, mental, and the eagle all being shown at Ketha, because we've got the eagle at Ketha. And as we know, the eagle, the tribe of Dan, is about wisdom, about the intellect of the divine, and we can see that at Ketha. And then we've got below Ketha, earth, instincts in man at Malkuth, which is man, which is Ruben. So this is the divine being brought down, reflected into or onto the physical plane through man. And then on the left we've got cups being shown here with the bull, which is symbolic of emotions, and water. And then we've also got the pentacles shown here, symbolizing fire, because it's with the lion, and that's symbolizing the passion and will behind the divine, behind God's will on the physical plane under the lion. And then down here we've got the man with the clubs, and the man's also being shown to not only be the eagle here, like transforming and showing to be part of the eagle, just like we see Horus and that's been shown as the eagle and man, but we see the man's hand coming out holding the clubs, which quite clearly we can see is clubs and wands, because it's quite long, showing us it's wands also. So we see that that is also another indicator. And we also see that man's holding the sword for the eagle. Again, we see this interaction with Dan and Ruben, Ketha and Malkuth being brought down. And so, as I said, I just wanted to bring you the information about this diagram, since I did put it in the group, and just expand upon it and just show you how I come to this information about these different tribes. So now it's just a matter of continuing to uncover more information as we now know what we're looking for. Really, that's basically what it is. So I'll bring you more information about, as I said, what I'm working on as well in the next couple of days. But for now, I just wanted to give you an explanation about how we can now start looking at these different suits in the tarot as representing the different thrones within the 12 tribes of Israel. Well, I'll leave it there, guys. And as always, peace out.